Hello Purple Army, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sohum and today we've got another Prince double reaction coming your way. We're going to take a look at these songs, analyze the lyrics, and hopefully come away with a bit of a deeper meaning here. First we'll start out with Money Don't Matter Tonight, and then we'll check out the highly requested Colonized Mind. I think if I were to survey every single one of my Prince comment sections, out of the songs that I haven't already yet reacted to, Colonized Mind is certainly one of the most commonly requested, so I'm definitely excited to check that one out today. Before jumping into this, a massive thank you goes to Rodney the Wise for making this donation request. Thank you so much, Rodney, as always. And now, let's jump in. Blackjack right here.
He never had respect for money, it's true. That's why he never wins. That's why he never ever has enough.
Yeah.
To treat his lady right. He just pushes her away in a huff and says, money don't matter tonight. Money don't matter tonight.
Wow.
It sure didn't matter yesterday. Just when you think you got more than enough, that's when it all up and flies away. That's when you find out that you're better off making sure your soul's alright. Cause money didn't matter yesterday, and it sure don't matter tonight.
Interesting.
Look, here's
Lyrically, I'm already in multiple headspaces simultaneously about this one. I think the way I'm going to do this is we'll listen to the entire song through and then take a look at the lyrics. Just one thing I wanted to point out is, like, in the beginning we get this kind of sense that this person, he doesn't care about money at all, and he is unable to acquire it because he lacks respect for it. No wonder he's unable to make and ameliorate the situations of his lady, because he doesn't respect money, he doesn't understand it. But then later, Prince kind of, in a sense, combats that position, playing devil's advocate and saying, well, money in a sense really doesn't matter. It's about making sure you're all right first, internally. The chase for money has its many issues, as you all know. Let's keep it going.
and it sure don't matter tonight. Look, here's a cool investment. They're telling him he just can't lose. So he goes out and tries to find a partner, but all he finds are users. All he finds are snakes in every color, every nationality and size.
Yeah, charlatans everywhere.
Seems like the only thing that he can do is just roll his eyes and say that money don't matter tonight. It sure didn't matter
Wow.
yesterday.
I like this song.
Just when you think you got more than enough, that's when it all up and flies away. That's when you find out that you're better off making sure your soul's alright. Cause money didn't matter yesterday, and it sure don't matter tonight.
Oh wow, so now it's switched kind of from economics to maybe geopolitics, we'll see.
To send a child off to war. So what if we're controlling all the oil? Is it worth the child dying for? Is it worth it? Long life is what we all live for. Then long life will come to pass.
Wow, I love that.
Anything is better than the picture of the child in a cloud of gas. And you think you got it bad, money don't matter tonight. It sure didn't matter yesterday.
This song, like in incremental fashion, keeps revealing new layers and takes on money, really, and how it is viewed, our perspectives on it, what we ought to use it for, what does it really mean. Just question after question, whether we were asking it consciously or not, are being at least addressed by Prince here.
Tonight, it sure didn't matter yesterday. Just when you think you got more than enough, that's when it all up and flies away. That's when you find out that you're better off making sure your soul's alright. Certain that your soul's alright. Money didn't matter yesterday. It sure don't matter tonight. Money don't matter tonight. It sure didn't matter yesterday. Just when you think you got more than enough, that's when it all up and flies away. That's when you find out that you're better off making sure your soul's alright. Money didn't matter yesterday, and it sure don't matter tonight.
Wow. Really cool song. There is a lot of meaning in this one to unpack, so let's just start right back up at the top and I'll walk through my thought process as I'm analyzing these lyrics here. So one more card and it's 22, unlucky for him again. Immediately 21 would be blackjack, 22 is I forget the actual blackjack terminology, but basically you bust and you won't win the hand. And that is already a game of chance, right? The house usually has an edge in casino games, so when you're already playing cards, you're already playing into a bit of a rigged game where you have to be so perfect and count cards and find that 51% versus 49% statistical edge, and still variance working against you can set you back down. The casinos are rigged against you. Like, that's the entire point of their existence. Though the games are fun, like I've done as much math as I can and research into understanding why casinos and probability-based games are addictive. People do their best to try to win, and there will be a handful of winners, but it is a handful. It is not a majority, not by any stretch. That's my Sohum propaganda against gambling for you today. He never had respect for money, it's true. That's why he never wins. If he respected money, then he would understand that playing into this rigged game from earlier would end up losing you money. And if you cared enough to keep something and respect it, you would never enter such a thing. Save for counting cards, which you can, find that small edge over a long enough time horizon. But when you don't respect money, you'll never be able to have it. You'll never be able to win more of it because you probably don't understand it either. That is why he never has enough to treat his lady right. You should be financially stable to support your life individually, but if you're responsible for people outside of yourself, especially young children, being responsible, having respect for money is highly important, because now the burden of existence lies on you. And a lot of men, don't recognize their role that they are playing by throwing away money. I don't know, that is maybe more of a pointed statement, but you have to be respecting money in this sense so that people can live in a high enough quality of life. He just pushes her away in a huff and says, "Money don't matter tonight." And right here was the first like super interesting line of the song to me, because implicitly in this statement, he's contradicting his own actions. Because why would he go gamble if not to win more money? But then when she's upset or obviously frazzled and stressed about there's not enough food on the table, money is tight, he's now saying, oh, money never mattered anyways. Why do you care about this value? And it's really, I mean, I hate to like overuse the term gaslighting. It gets thrown around constantly, but it's gaslighting because your behaviors indicate that you care about money, even though you don't understand enough of it to respect it and earn it properly. You care enough, but when somebody else points out that, hey, you're losing money here and things aren't going right, then you say, oh, it never mattered anyways. You can't have it both ways. And that's why this line here to me poses like a bit of cognitive dissonance. It's an inherent contradiction in this person's engagement with money. Money don't matter tonight. It sure didn't matter yesterday. You can double down on the narrative of him being contradictory, but also you can take it as at an absolute level, currency, value exchange, fiat money, none of this actually matters to humans other than the ability to barter for goods and have something fungible that allows you to trade goods and buy things with something that is universal and has a store of value. But it's all a social construct. Not that there's anything implicitly wrong with the social construct per se. Follow my like logical argument. There's nothing wrong inherently with imposing a social construct. It's what we do with it and how it affects our outcomes. Fiat currency, for example, there's a lot of manipulation going on. Many institutions, many governments, people are taking their stab and trying to take more of that pie for themselves. So in a sense, cosmically, money doesn't matter, but the way it impacts our lives certainly does. Just when you think you've got more than enough, that's when it all up and flies away. And right here, it makes me think immediately about savings and inflation. The moment you become complacent and you kind of rest on your laurels, even if you are doing fine in the current moment, the way money moves, the way it's printed, the disproportionate nature of wealth, especially in the United States when you have like the disparity between the 1% and 99% growing year on year, the money you currently have, even if you keep it in your shoebox, depreciates and loses value. And in the United States, if trade wars happen and the US dollar loses its inherent value as well, then you're poorer for just having existed. You didn't do anything worse. You continued to work. You continued to be the best version of yourself, but time was against you. The mechanisms larger than life were against you. I don't like to always defer to something being a rigged system, because it sometimes feels like you offload accountability when maybe it's better to take more. But it is also a rigged system. That's when you find out that you're better off making sure your soul's all right, because money didn't matter yesterday and it sure don't matter tonight. Yeah, I love this turnaround here, because you start the chorus off with this, you end the chorus off with this. And the most important part above money, besides the, let's say, security it enables you to feel and have, your soul is entitled to security as well. And being trapped in a sort of rat race where all your value is geared towards earning more money, accruing more wealth, and that is your end for itself. That is a fruitless end. You will never have enough. It will always escape you. The respect you even have for it, your understanding of it, will transcend itself within a long enough time horizon. Money is fleeting in this sense, and if you are stressed out internally, if you live in constant anguish because of it, it's kind of like they got you right where they want you, and it's still your responsibility to make sure your soul's all right, because the money and all of the fame and all of the material goods and all of this stuff matters less than who you are internally. So long as you have enough food to eat, a place to sleep, a loving community, all of these things come way before money ever does. So if you are in the let's say privileged position of having enough money to at least live comfortably, whatever that looks like, count your blessings and make sure your soul's all right, and then pay it back. Not taxes. Well, you should pay taxes. Don't get that twisted, but don't come for me, US government, please. I'm doing my best over here. Look, here's a cool investment. They're telling him he just can't lose. So he goes off and tries to find a partner, but all he finds are users. You know, all the charlatans, right? All he finds are snakes in every color, every nationality and size. Seems like the only thing he can do is just roll his eyes and say that ... Right here, this just feels like an entire paragraph talking about how greed is universal. It is the root of all evil. So the common saying goes, everybody is trying to make a quick buck if that is the value, and they make that buck off of each other. And, you know, the bag of dirt that the first owner has, he sells it to another person for a larger sum, and that bag of dirt gets flipped again. And the bag of dirt keeps making its rounds when there's no intrinsic value to that bag of dirt. It's all about profiteering and getting more disproportionately for yourself. But it all comes from a psychological feeling of lack and of fear, because you yourself as an individual don't want to live in squalor, don't want to suffer at the hands of negligent governments and societies. It's important for us to feel stable, and it's a human need. And sometimes that human need can get conflated and exaggerated in more well-off circumstances where you are already doing better than 90% of the world, 99% of the world. And again, I'll use the example of the United States, but people don't realize I think it's the average national income, if you look globally, is nothing compared to in the United States. I guess national versus international. And that's not to say that the conditions of the poor in the United States are any better. We suffer from different ailments and situations, but it's also a matter of perspective, and things are bad everywhere. I don't know where I'm trying to go with this. Things are bad everywhere. They're bad here. They feel sometimes untenable as like the small person that we are in this grander system. And we're just pitting our own intellect and energy against one another, when if we banded together some way, somehow, I don't know how I would propose this, but there's got to be a better solution such that we're all not living in constant stress, and the people who are poor and actually doing really badly are aided and given that, you know, common human decency, which is becoming very uncommon these days. I could just pontificate, ramble on and on. I hope you guys are enjoying my thoughts. Money don't matter tonight. It sure didn't matter yesterday. Just when you think you've got more than enough, that's when it all up and flies away. That's when you find out that you're better off making sure your soul's all right, because money didn't matter yesterday and it sure don't matter tonight. Hey, now, maybe we can find a good reason to send a child off to war. So what if we're controlling all the oil? Is it worth a child dying for? Again, something always, like all of these negative things that happen, they all, in one way, shape, or form, return back to greed. Because if we're doing fine locally, why do we need to control all of the world's oil reserves and send young children off to die for an end that never needed war in the first place? Diplomacy is a thing. We don't need to be infinitely greedy and have disproportionate wealth. Even if it is coming from a place of fear, we should always value community and conversation over fear and greed. Those are very banal statements, but they need to be reiterated over and over again. I would rather give my last dollar to somebody who needs it than to take 10 more from, you know, whatever source just to establish my own safety. And even then, I may not be safe anyways. You see how it's like always a catch-22? If long life is what we all live for, then long life will come to pass. If we change our goals from money and store of value to living life to its fullest, then of course the new goal that we set for ourselves will manifest. We will experience these long, fruitful, joyful, stress-free lives. Anything is better than the picture of a child in a cloud of gas and you think you got it bad. Yeah, again, a matter of perspective. We think it's bad here, it's always worse somewhere else. And if what we're doing now as a global community is leading to genocides, leading to wars, leading to greed, obviously something is wrong. And now it's easy to say, well, stop being greedy, stop doing these things, but in practice, people, they don't listen to idealistic, quote-unquote, statements like that. It all comes down to how it can be implemented at the granular level, bringing our societies closer together, actually showing love, affection, care for one another, such that we don't have to rely on fear as a motivator, fear as a mechanism. We can be grounded and safe within ourselves. And I believe we just get 2 more stanzas of repetition. I really like this song. I love songs that talk about deep meaning, especially as it relates to just the circumstances that various people and communities face. I think everybody has a different set of grievances and problems with the world that we are all one way afflicted by directly, and if you're not directly experiencing something, your neighbor is experiencing that thing, and therefore you are indirectly feeling some kind of ramification. It kind of goes part and parcel with the butterfly effect, right? Where one butterfly's flapping wings can cause a hurricane across the globe. Everything has an impact. That's why even when I make these videos, I do my level best to spread peace, love, positivity, to put beautiful thoughts out there, because it all matters. Let's check out the next song, shall we? I forgot there was a second one. Colonized Mind. Let's begin. Your boy needs water.
We wanna talk about it. Colonized mind.
Love the feel. Very bluesy.
Upload the revolution principle. You see a rock on the shore and say it's always been there. Download, no responsibility. Do what you want, nobody cares. Upload the master race idea.
Wow.
Genetically disposed to rule the world.
Manipulation.
Download a future full of isolated.
This is the agenda, whatever's being uploaded here, and then what's getting downloaded is what's received by society, the impact.
Full of isolated boys and girls.
Wow.
Upload
Genius.
a
Genius.
two-party system.
Yeah.
The lesser of two dangers, illusion of choice.
We'll do the same thing, go through the whole song and then unpack the lyrics, but Prince is cooking.
Download a veiled form of fascism. Nothing really ever changed. You never had a voice. Listen to me
Love
one
the
time.
feel.
If you look, you're sure gonna find throughout mankind's history a colonized mind. The one in power makes law under which the colonized fall. Without God, it's just the blind leading the blind. Upload a joint venture record deal. It's just another way for the man to steal while he's sticking you with the bill. Download a temporary acquisition for fleeting flame and fortune. Nothing to leave in your will. Hey, 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 hey.
I love that song. I was just foaming at the mouth getting ready to talk about this one. There's so much again to unpack here. First things first though, love the actual melody in this track, the bluesy vibe, the bounce that we get. It's remarkably catchy and soothing for how nefarious the topics are. Whenever you like package difficult to swallow pills in a beautiful way, it actually conveys a deeper, profound meaning about how we as a society engage with difficult topics. Like, it's one of the reasons why comedians are some of the best observationalists on earth. Like, they are some of the best social commentators, at least, because they literally know what's going to push people's buttons. What are the limits? What are the shackles being placed on them or on the minds of that current society's conscious? You know, there's so much going on at any given time. Nobody wants to confront all of these demons that stare us right in the face. Sometimes we need to put a beautiful package around it, a joke with it, and, you know, it helps. Anyways, let's jump into the lyrics here. Want to talk about it. Colonized mind. Right here, there's so much to unpack with just the idea of the colonized mind, because colonized, you hear that terminology thrown around a lot about nations who are colonizers taking over the local communities, killing, raping, taking their gold, and, you know, enacting terrible acts of violence upon them, converting people locally into slaves, right? And you've converted the free mind into a colonized or slave mind that takes whatever you give them and regurgitates the outcome that they desire. Upload the evolution principle. You see a rock on the shore and say, it's always been there. I don't know if this is this specific line I kind of got confused by, because I don't know if Prince is like against the idea of like Darwin's evolution. Like, I for one believe in evolution, but if you were to presume for the sake of argument that evolution was a principle, and you're now witnessing a rock on the shore and you say it's always been there, then there was no evolution in that rock, because the rock has been there in perpetuity. Oh, there goes my camera. But this is the one line that like immediately I couldn't get, but immediately comes after is download, no responsibility, do what you want, nobody cares. And to me, when you get this do nothing kind of thing, it says, okay, look, everything is already the way it is, and the changes that you try to enact are fruitless and will end up changing nothing. So do nothing because nothing will change anyways. Do what you want because there's no impact. Nobody else will care about you. And setting up this idea in the mind of a populace, you should always opt for more responsibility rather than less, I think, on a balance of probabilities. Because the moment you relinquish your responsibility, you, in a sense, forego your own agency in the world. That's just like my rough philosophical position on it. But yeah, help me figure out why the evolution principle fits in here. But then followed up, upload the master race idea, genetically disposed to rule the world, download a future full of isolated boys and girls. So the idea of the master race is that there is one superior race. Usually it's like the Aryan race, like the whites are superior to anybody who's colored, and you are predestined to rule the world, so therefore you should do everything in the moment-to-moment actions to bring reality to that idea. And then what happens when people start adopting that idea subconsciously, it starts isolating people, boys and girls who from different, let's say, race or ethnic backgrounds could have come together but are no longer doing so because this unnecessary evil idea of the master race is all of a sudden driving a wedge between us. And again, it even harkens back to the previous song, Money Don't Matter Tonight. Dividing humanity is the easiest way to then pick it apart and, siphon all of its wealth, siphon all of its value, love, joy. These things exist if we allow them to, and they can be destroyed if we choose to. Upload the two-party system, the lesser of two dangers, illusion of choice. Download their form of fascism. Nothing really ever changes. You never had a voice. Specifically about, I think the two-party systems that exist globally, and in the United States we have the world's foremost two-party system, Democrats, Republicans, always fighting each other, political statements thrown this way, that way. But then what happens at the end of a 2-year midterm cycle, a 4-year presidential cycle? Does the life of the average person improve, or do things get worse? Now, the human bias is negativity bias, right? So we will always, on a balance of probabilities, say that things have gotten worse. We have to remove that bias first and foremost before engaging in this part of the discussion. Assuming that that isn't at play and we're looking at things for the fact of the matter, are things getting better? Are these two parties that exist allowing us to enact our own feelings about how our society should be run? Or are both of these parties being played by a larger force above, some hidden puppet master? And I don't want to get into too much like conspiratorial world, but for the theoretical engagement, on this issue, if that were to be the case, if those multiple parties, the two parties in particular, are being controlled by one structure, then everything feels like a choice. And you can even use the example of like consumer goods in the store. There are 5 major brands that account for over 95 plus, I think it's even 99% plus of the brands in retail stores. When you buy Coke, your direct competitor, yes, it may be Pepsi or, Dr. Pepper or something, but those companies are owned by similar parent companies oftentimes. You can literally track the charts and see where the financial ties are. So technically it looks like competition, but they're just incentivized to get you into the door choosing any of these choices that you wouldn't have needed otherwise, if not for marketing, if not for confusion and, addiction. So long diatribe aside, you have the same illusion of choice often with these parties, because in the end it feels like nothing really changes. It feels like both sides are pushing the needle the same way. Broad takeaway there. Download their form of fascism. Nothing ever really changes. You never had a voice. Listen to me one more time. If you look, you're going to find throughout mankind's history a colonized mind. Yeah, constantly. So many empires have existed colonizing others, and even in the last 2 centuries, there have been countless examples of colonization, of slavery. And globally, slavery is more prominent now than it ever was. I don't know if you know that. I was shocked to find that out. The one in power makes law, under which the colonized fall. Without God, it's just the blind leading the blind. And, another way I could kind of like summarize this is, if you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. A society that does not ground itself in core values and maintains its integrity and does things in line with those values, then you have to treat government as God. I referenced this Hobson quote in a previous reaction recently, but I think it applies here as well. What if Jesus was a facade? That would mean the government's God. I believe that was Ill Mind of Hobson number 7. And it's true. If just in the theoretical world, if there is no God, then who do we look up to? What is the structure above us all in its government? Which is very scary. It's a very scary prospect, right? So whoever has the power materially can affect those below in that hierarchical structure. Therefore, anybody who's not in power is potentially a colonized mind. Now, there's an even further meta argument that says, even if you feel like you're in power and you get this fame, you get this fortune that even comes up here, it feels like you have that slice of life beyond what you would normally expect. You are still a cog in that greater system, and you are all playing second fiddle to money, to power, to greed. It's rotten from the bottom up, top down. It sucks. Upload a joint venture record deal. It's just another way man can still sleep while he's sticking you with the bill. Yeah, and this, like, you hear Prince reference all the time how he's getting scammed and how artists have to fight for every dollar that they're earning, because the fees on even the production and then the costs of the record companies, they're passed down to the artist. And it feels like you're able to sleep all right at night, but then at the end of it, you're the one also getting the bill. So you're doing the creative process, you're incurring all of the risk, and then some other parasite who promises to help is actually taking more than they're owed, or taking more than they're due, and still leaving you a little bit stressed out and worse for wear. Download a temporary acquisition of fleeting fame and fortune, but still nothing to leave in your will. Hey. Yeah, even if you are at the top echelons of society, which, top echelons of society already implies hierarchy, but we'll go with the the framing for now. Even if you are doing well in this system, you are not doing well in the system, because the system is designed to push you back down all the way again. It is far easier to fail than it is to succeed. And maybe this is just like a human truth rather than like a societal problem. Like, you could blow up your life in 2-3 decisions, and it takes decades to rebuild that same life back up. Upload a child with no father. Download no respect for authority. Upload a child with no mother. Download a hard time showing love. This is so true. And, even now more than ever, there are so many broken homes. Divorce is, continuing, at least on average, like decade on decade, rising. People are just not staying together for one reason or another. And when you lack a father in the home, now the child doesn't really have an understanding and respect for authority, and looks externally, even if it is subconscious, for other authority figures to emulate the role of the father. But when you have a society filled with other bad actors and people who are charlatans, who don't actually have your best interest at heart like your father might, of course, the authority that you put your trust in is there to siphon more from you as well. And then it further like emphasizes that nobody can be trusted and you end up becoming isolated again. Similarly, upload a child with no mother, download a hard time showing love. You won't have the affection, the nurturing nature of a mother, the care, the consideration, the patience needed to engage in the world, to have children of your own, to show unconditional love to others. Having both is the best. If you look, you're sure going to find throughout mankind's history a colonized mind. The one in power makes law under which the colonized fall. Without God, it's just the blind leading the blind. These are two very dense songs. You could talk about these issues for months, years. I mean, I think as a society, we have been contending with these issues for all of recorded history. So leave it in, 140 characters in the comments. What do you think about all of these societal issues? Do they suck? Do they not suck? I don't know. The way I feel, just broadly, and this is just, again, me pontificating and opining, I guess is the better word. The way I feel is that we are sort of waking up, but it's not everybody who's waking up. There are segments of the population that I am gaining more and more faith in, more trust in. I feel more human connections to. One thing that I love about the people who subscribe to my channel, and it's not just me, placating you. It's literally what I observe in my comments and in my email exchanges and just in my interactions. You guys are some of the coolest people out there, really embodying the idea of love, of being open-minded, of understanding that issues outside of ourselves affect who we are, and it's important that we remain grounded within the self and show love and exist in a positive state wherever we can. That is like a message that I preach all the time, and I'm glad to hear that there's a segment of the population out there that also feels that way. So in my local world and YouTube world, it feels like there is a move in the right direction against all of this chaos, endless greed, endless negativity. But that's my own bias, right? Because I'm in my own bubble now, in a sense. I wish, what I want is for all the things that I'm doing on this channel now and the things that I'll do in the future to have cascading positive effects on you, on your friends, on your friend of friends. Butterfly effect. Everything grows and ripples, and I want to be as strong of a force for positivity and love that as I can, and hopefully people see the value in that. I would, in a sense, I would like to convince people that positivity and love and peace are the ways to go, but also that is only a realization that you as an individual can come to yourself. So in a sense, I can only show you the path, like as often a lot of like spiritual leaders do, and don't get it twisted, I'm not a spiritual leader, but from my own understanding and knowledge, I will show you the path and share that with no ego attached to that, and hopefully it manifests into something positive for others outside of me. And that's just the way I feel about things. I don't know how you guys think about it, so yeah, leave it in the comments down below. I'm really curious to hear all of your thoughts on everything that I've said, everything that Prince has said. But yeah, if I let my brain go, my mouth chatter will never end, so I'll end the reaction here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and would like to make a request yourself, you can do so by hitting the first link in the description box below. But as always, my friends, have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and peace.